I feel like just saying scotch like Koch.
Yeah, Koch like
Koch
Koch.
like scotch.
Yeah, lots of people say it that way. And we are live.
For real?
Well, I introduced myself that way on some platforms, so it's become kind of an inside joke. Yeah. So,
Koch like scotch. I kind of like it. It has like a nice.
either the tape or the drink, you pick. That's what I say.
I was thinking the tape. I love that. Well, I'm super excited to sit down with you. For those of you that are already jumping on live, hello. I can already tell this is going to be a fantastic conversation. I am here with Jessica L. Koch Consulting, and we are here to talk about the 3-step process to growing your business. I'm super, super excited. This is going to be so much fun. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Sabrina Victoria. I am the host here at Her Talk Show. If you have not already subscribed, girl, get on that subscribe button. These podcasts are guaranteed to have you thinking differently about your life, and in this case, your business. Let's jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Live. Thank you so much for being here. If you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. This is the Italian mother of 7.
Yeah.
What a way to open. An international speaker, a sales and marketing expert, social media trainer, and the founder of a powerful virtual assistant membership program. A lot of us female entrepreneurs need that. Please meet our guest, Jessica Koch. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So what's going on?
Yes, you know what? I'm so excited. I love talking about business. I sometimes secretly wish all of my podcasts could be about business.
Yes.
I just love it. There's so much, right? Like we think we know things, and then you realize there's so much more, especially when you just jump into entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. And with that, it's not just the keeping up with the trends of what's changing so dynamically and so instantly in the world that we are in business. It's also what I see with a lot of the new entrepreneurs coming on and into the space is they don't have the foundation. So a lot of the traditional tried and true skill sets of the Napoleon Hills and the Dale Carnegies and really the founders of a lot of the techniques that need to be used in sales are just as true today as they were, years and years ago. And so many people aren't walking in with that foundation. It's a really good marriage between the basic skills that you need. It's almost like foundation for playing a sport, right? You need the foundational skills, or foundation for math. You need the basic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. This is your foundation. And then you build on that with what's new and what's automated and what's happening and technology and all those things. But so many people are missing those key components of, even just human interaction skills. That's so key. So.
Yeah. Yes. And I've also seen, which tell me if you're also seeing this, a disconnect in them saying it doesn't work that way anymore. That's old news.
Well, and that I'm a big believer of saying sometimes yes and no. It's never one way or the other. If you make 100 phone calls to people you do not know and you stay with it and you use some of the techniques, I'm not preaching cold calling, but I will tell you that if I picked up the phone and made 100 phone calls, I will make a sale. I will make an appointment. I will make a relationship. I will make something happen. And people will say, oh, cold call's dead. Don't ever cold call. Don't ever do it. Maybe that isn't the best strategy, but is it completely gone and dead? I don't think so. No. There's typically, if something worked, it can still work now. And having a phone call and sending a text are getting better responses than you're a 0.5% 5% in an email, right? And all the noise on making a post in social media or buying an ad, it's getting drowned out. And so you have to go back. As a matter of fact, I was just talking about this from a marketing standpoint with someone on how much, especially specific industries, are going back to their postcard mailing. And they're getting more result from it than they used to. So just because someone says, oh, that's outdated, does not mean it will. Just like your fashions, girl, you got your bell bottoms, you got your mini skirts, that's out to date, those platform shoes. But then, don't, if you really loved it and it's high quality, don't throw it away. It may come back around.
And it does.
It does.
It does. Great analogy. So true. Because we all humans work in cycles.
We do. Yeah. And the big trend in the physical mail thing, and this is pure genius, a lot of even the Fortune 1000 are doing this, where they're collaborating with a different partner. So for example, maybe you have a service that would help a pet owner, but you partner up with a company that has a product that helps a pet owner. You pay that product company to be a gift inside their box when it gets delivered. So we're now back to hard snail mail, people, being something that works, but doing it a little differently and pulling into that collaboration piece that's so key. So if the Fortune 1000 can do it, why can't we, right? So if Sabrina, you're mailing your printed t-shirt or a mug or a journal or something to one of your customers, and you're handling that, why wouldn't you sell sponsorships to someone like me who has a service, who I could then, because I'm talking to the same audience, send something physical to them, because the odds of them actually opening it, looking at it, appreciating it, and doing something with it go up astronomically than me just mailing that out to someone who wasn't asking for it. They paid for your whatever it is you shipped them physically, and I paid for the privilege of being in that box with you together as a collaboration partner. So there's some really brilliant things we can do together if we just stick our heads together and don't do it alone.
Yes, absolutely. And I love these ideas of collaboration. I think that more and more people, I was just on the call with 2 women today, as far as trying to figure out a way to collaborate and bring our businesses together, is the way to really capitalize. The word that I use a lot is leverage resources. I would love for you to talk a little bit on systems. I know that is one thing that you really dive into. And I believe, just from the amount of females that I've talked to, is a lot of times the one thing that a lot of them are missing. Do you have something you can share as far as what are the systems that we should, like every business should be implementing right now?
So systems are key for success. It's not just McDonald's that needs this duplicatable system. It's also key for freedom and for up-leveling ourselves truly to be a CEO or eventually founder of an organization that goes on and carries on without you, right? So every system you need in the very beginning always deals with around your customer. So your most important systems in order to be a business, not a hobby, are going to generate around revenue, so that you'll have really important systems for your lead generation, right? And what that looks like. And you may have multiple of those. And what I mean by that is, if one of the ways you get customers in and one of your systems for leads is speaking, then there'll be a complete system around your process of getting your speaking gigs. So how do you research and find them? What do you give that person when they're considering you? So your media kit. And what do you do once you're on their show? What do you do the day after their show? So there is a system for even if you don't recognize it, it's happening now. And then thinking about the other ways you bring leads into your company and the systems that connect that. So bringing in leads and then nurturing those leads and converting them into customers, and then onboarding your customers is another really important system. And then nurturing and servicing your customer is another system. And then referrals, having a system to allow your customers to be your biggest fans is super important. So setting up a system for them to know, and for you to know when is the best time, prime time for me to ask for a video testimonial, a written testimonial, an email introduction, to be featured in front of their Facebook group, what is your system for getting referrals from your current client base? Also, systems involve things like invoicing. How are you billing them? Is it automated? Is it renewable? Is it one time that this happens? What is your payment process system? That's huge, right? One of the things I joke about myself is my VA agency had to be born for many, many reasons. One of which is when I was really early in starting the company 7 years ago, as a new business owner, I realized about myself, I hated sending invoices. I hated the whole invoice process. And so I did a lot of, I'm a big evaluator of self, to see how can I improve, what am I lacking here, what's wrong with me, and how can I make the best version of me come out, right? And so I thought, wow, do I have a money block? Because I'm blocking money coming in for my life. And I'm like, no, I'm good. All my windows and doors are open. I really love money. Money is good. Okay, so that's not it. I just really had a block to the whole process of generating and creating the invoice. Hated it. Didn't want to do it. So really quickly, that was one of the first things I outsourced. And guess what happens though when you don't send invoices? People don't just go, oh, that Jessica, I love her, I'm going to send some money today. Without that piece in the system and in the process, guess what doesn't happen? Money does not come into your bank account. And that is super important, just saying.
Yes.
So,
Totally. So hiring somebody else to send out your invoices, what was the solution? What did you do?
yeah, well, I had at that point already, I had a team. I started 3 months. That's my story, is 3 months into my company, I immediately hired 3 people. There is kind of a story to that, but I don't know how much time we have. So
I would love to hear it, because I took a really long time to hire people because of a lack mindset. So I would love to hear your story. I mean, not that your story is like my story. I don't even know what your story is, but
yeah. So my story is, I am the Italian mother of 7, and my youngest is 12 years old. And I was 3 months into my brand new business, and I had about 3 customers that I was consulting and working with. And my husband's owned his own company for a very long time, and I didn't want my company to be a burden on our family, or be a cost, right? I always wanted to stay in the, I guess, the green, right? And out of the red, right? That's the red is the bad one, right? Yeah. So I was sitting on a Wednesday afternoon, and we had just walked on the boardwalk and had a great family dinner on a Wednesday evening. And then we're sitting in the living room playing Yahtzee together, my husband and my 12-year-old. Well, she wasn't 12 at the time, but anyway, and we're playing, and I was thinking, I went to those networking things on Zoom. So now I need to get the chat and put it into a spreadsheet and send everyone an invitation to connect on social media platforms, and then send them an email for a getting to know you call so that we can see how we can collaborate, and all the things so that I knew were mandatory for success. And I didn't want to be thinking about that, because I wanted to be thinking about getting Yahtzee, right, with my husband and my child. And so I made the decision that day, okay, how do one of the things I have on my board, and I do lots of vision boards and lots of things, but one of the things is I have in really big letters is make a way. All right, so how do I make a way for this to happen in the way that I wanted it to? And literally, I looked around the house and found a bunch of stuff that wasn't being used. And if it wasn't nailed down or necessary, I put it on Facebook Marketplace. And I sold a bunch of stuff our family wasn't using, and got about, I guess it was somewhere around $500 together. And I said, okay, this is my virtual assistant nest egg, and here's how I'm going to use it. And then I had a strategy for that, because you need a system for everything you do, even if it's new to you, right? And so I decided that 1/3 of every of the time that I was paying this virtual assistant, and I hired 3 right out the gate, that they would be doing money making actions. So the micro tasks behind the scenes would be leading to money making actions, so that I would always be refilling my virtual assistant coffers, so that I was never taking away from my business, my family, or going into the red because I was hiring someone right away. I am a very hardworking Italian who wants the option to be lazy. And I knew that. I wanted the option to say, okay, those things are getting done and I can be fully present no matter what day of the week it is. Oh, it happens to be unusually great weather. Let's go jump into a kayak and drop it in the water. And I didn't want to have to say no because I had to do the things, you know. And I also want to be good to my word. That's so important to me, and stay committed to when I say I'm going to do something for someone, it gets done. And so having a team like this really made that possible. And so now, you know, 7 years later, I now have 100 virtual assistants globally that help our clients all over the world do the things that no one wants, that I think many people don't want to do, and also many people probably should not be doing. If we're truly being honest with ourselves and we look at our hourly value, and believe me, I think the hourly value of my virtual assistant team, it outweighs any dollar amount you would pay me hourly to consult with you. They are brilliant and wonderful, and I bonus them, and I do profit sharing, and I give them high level respect, and I just treasure them. But if I can, for a really affordable amount, and make a difference in their lives with training and regular work for their family, and I can then also have my life, I see that is a phenomenal win.
Beautiful. Can you give us a sneak as to what one of those money making actions were?
Sure. So money making tasks are things like follow up with, how many of you, raise your hand. I know you're watching. I know you're listening. Even if you watch the replay, raise your hand, because somebody out there has done this other than me, has 50 or 100 or more chats in their Zoom folder that the computer saved automatically from these events that they attended in network, and they never put it in a spreadsheet. They never added it to their CRM. They never reached out to connect with them, and you never sent them a Calendly link so that you can see if this actually is a logical collaboration, potential customer, or what have you. And if you don't do that, then you just wasted your time going. It's like if you physically go in person to a chamber event and collect a whole bunch of business cards, and then they sit on your desk and do nothing. If you do not follow up with them and get the next appointment for the next possibility of your relationship, professionally, in collaboration, or direct business, then you have wasted your time, energy, and money. So that is a huge one. Also, things like invoicing is a money-making action in some level. Most admin, I usually say it's the 3 categories you have are micro money-making actions, social media, because it's a necessary evil of the world we live in now, presence and branding, and then thirdly, admin tasks. But there are a few admin tasks that actually do lead to money as well. Other things that can lead to money are doing research on your ideal customer, or speaking gigs for you, and reaching out to either those companies via email for that first appointment, or reaching out to that podcast host or summit coordinator to find out about the next opportunity to speak, or national association. There's huge amounts of opportunities with your local government for funding. If you're in the business space at all and you provide knowledge or service to businesses, the library can be paying you, JobSource can be paying you, economic development, SBA, women's groups all across the nation have grant funding from the federal government and state and local government to pay industry experts to teach. I get paid all the time for that. Been doing it for many, many, many years, taught a whole class on it. So yeah, those are money-making tasks, reaching out to these organizations, reaching out to national associations with your ideal avatar to be a guest speaker at their next annual conference, to offer a free class as a member benefit for the association members, to, but doing all the research and the legwork and the footwork to get that to happen should be done by a team. And those are potentially really good micro money making tasks that are in the background of the world, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And I think that in agreement with the follow-up specifically, because I think that's where the ball is dropped so many times.
And even for me, like, I have to remind one of my key team members to go back through. We have 2 stages of people who are really almost at the finish line to become virtual assistant clients. One is the first level is they need to send us the data we need to make a custom agreement and things. We've already had the presentation. They've already asked for the information, and we need the next step from them and following up with them, because guess what? Sometimes they don't respond right away to that email. And then the people we have sent agreements to, this is true story. We just got reached out to someone we sent an agreement to 3 years ago, and they contacted us and said, okay, that agreement you sent me, I'm ready now. And this happens. So that's the other lesson to be learned here, is all your contacts are microwavable. If you think the in-person getting to know you call you had 3 years, 5 years, 7 years ago, we go back and follow up from every meeting I've had, but specifically the hotter ones first, right? The ones who are really interested, had us send the next step for them, but then never took action. We make sure that those get regular follow-ups, quarterly or monthly, depending. We have kind of a process so that we're, I feel like there's a fine line between professional and pesty, and I don't ever want to be someone to feel they require pest control for our company or me as a person. So we try to have like a respectful flow, right? And then right now I hired a marketing director who's actually calling people from meetings we had and calling and texting and saying, hey, you met with Jessica on Zoom. It was a couple of years back. She just thought we would get back in touch to see how we can collaborate or what you're up to now and how we can support each other, right? So it's a really, we're not trying to sell you all of our wares and things. It's hey, what's going on now? We took the time to talk once before. Let's make sure there's some value in that for both of us, for time well spent, and check back in, kind of a thing. So all your contacts are microwavable.
The long guy just showed up, just so you know. This is all absolutely amazing. I would love for you to, in order to kind of pivot into pretty much exactly what we're talking about, but just another means of it, and that's automation of your business. So we need the systems,
yes,
but there's certain parts that need to be automated. So what's your thoughts on that?
So here's a really great example of this. So we talked about the different things you need systems for, right? And one of the things I told you need a system for is onboarding. Okay, so think about and look at the things that you do for your customers. And one of the things I did, and still, this is one of the other things I'm about to automate, is I send a client a getting started document, and then when they respond to it, they fill in. It's just a Word doc, and they customize and fill in the different platforms that they're on already, so that we can see their voice and their branding and their colors and even sometimes help with making sure their branding is cohesive across the board. And, we work with them on a lot of levels. But for whatever reason, and I don't know why we haven't done this yet, because we've done it with almost 95% of all the other things that we have systems in a form like this, we haven't put it in a Jot form or a Google form where it's then dropping into a CRM system, which then automatically uploads into, to a spreadsheet that then drops into our, that gets zapped into our CRM system, that then gets, nurtured into a workflow that then does all of these things, right? So, so that just cracked me up. We were reviewing systems and processes internally, and we were like, wait, why isn't that done right that way? And so now we're making that adjustment. So it's really analyzing and evaluating your systems one step at a time, and then asking yourself, okay, is there a software, an AI, a Zap, an automation, a workflow, or someone else who can be doing that next step for us? Or for me. And that is where, your automation begins to come into play. And one of the exciting things, I'm a big fan of reciprocity. Now, let's be clear. I don't think you should do things to get stuff, but it is a guaranteed side effect, and a way better one than some of the drug commercials you hear on the television now. So, yeah, so you really want to do things that give reciprocity and show value to other people. One of the things I do is called a gratitude spotlight. And I will jump on a live and feature and surprise someone, and tell all the reasons I think they're wonderful to the world, and tag them, right? So that they just randomly run across it, or get told about it by a friend. And it's just developed a really exciting and cool thing for them to discover. And one of the things my team does with the gratitude spotlight system is they then transcribe that. They do a written testimonial based on my personal feeling and words. They then can be used on their website, or it can be then sent to them via LinkedIn as a testimonial or a written recommendation. We can do a Facebook testimony. We can do a Google page one for their Google My Business, and now it becomes the system of care that we've given the person. We can, even if they have a book on Amazon, add that short testimonial about the human, the individual, the author themselves to their book feed on Amazon, which hugely helps the individual. So all these ways that vary with one simple video from me can then cause this chain of reaction that, guess what, then that person, then I had someone, my travel agent. I did this once for my travel agent, and tagged her. She had done an amazing job on a trip that we had just taken that was a game changer for us. And fortunately for us, it was right before the world changed. And we had taken our daughter to New York City right at Christmas time for an entire week. And she planned everything. And it was like she ordered the snow falling at the perfect moment for us. Like, everything was magical. And so I did a gratitude spotlight video for her and tagged her. And then I forgot I had done it. And I don't know, days later, she calls me in tears and says, you can't know how much that meant to me to see and run across that and find that for no real big reason at all, other than I decided to take a moment and value her. And she probably is one of my biggest cheerleaders, and tells the world about me, and tells that story of how much that meant to her. And that wasn't why I did it, but it is a guaranteed side effect, so find some things that you can do and create a system and incorporate AI and technology, but still keep that personal touch. Right? It's this beautiful marriage between the relationship, which some people call old school and traditional selling, is that hardcore relationship and true human being. And marry that with a little bit of technology without losing that magic. Wow, just the things we can do together, other places we'll go, quoting our beloved Dr. Seuss, if we take on that mindset and begin to marry things and create systems to make that happen in our business.
Yeah. I love how you are talking about this gratitude spotlight, how you're doing it just because, and there is a side effect. Because I think a lot of times there is this unspoken silent heaviness of, if it is giving back to my business in any way, then it's not actually heartfelt. It's not actually giving, because of that law of reciprocity, and getting stuck in that confusing mindset of, am I actually doing this because I want to, or am I actually doing this because of business? And I love how you're talking about it as a side effect
Mm-hmm.
versus like I'm doing it because, but it's just like this is just the natural side effect of that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm a big believer in what a lot, I don't know who the first to label it this is. I've been calling it for years, but I'm sure there was someone before me, cause marketing. You know, I am a big believer in when I help a client think about what they're doing and think about a product they're building, or even thinking about their affiliate program, thinking about incorporating cause marketing into it. When I first started my company, I immediately knew I wanted an affiliate program for a lot of reasons. But one was because I wanted nonprofits to have something really great to offer the businesses that usually sponsored and paid them, something that businesses would actually want instead of wrapping paper or chocolate, right? And so some of the first affiliates I had were large nonprofits. Became an affiliate of some of my business products because that helped their sponsors who handed them big fat checks all the time, but it was something that they could purchase, and then the nonprofit could get a portion of that. Does that make me evil? No, I have affiliates that aren't nonprofits. Lots of people have an affiliate programs, but why not incorporate a cause when you can? If we can expand the number of wins in any scenario, then there is nothing selfish about that. Even the Fortune 1000 who adopt some sort of cause, right? Whatever it is, St. Jude's Hospital, whatever it is, and they ask you to pay that extra few cents, or they ask you, or they support that cause. And, you know, like Tom's Shoes is a great example. There's an eyeglass company that does it too, where, you know, you buy one, you give one. And, you know, okay, yes, that does benefit the business, but they could find other ways to receive personal benefit. They've decided as a company with values to say, we want this to be a result of what's happening every time someone makes a purchase from us. And is that going to motivate some people to make a purchase for them? Yes, and good. Because what if every company did that? What if every company said, every time you buy XYZ, we're going to give one to someone who needs it, or we're going to create a scholarship program so that someone can have whatever it is, or we're going to create, you know, what if plumbers did it? And then what if they collaborated with the community organizations that knew about people who really needed new plumbing or plumbing fix that really couldn't afford the plumber, and they were using, you know, sometimes in some cases when that happens, no bathroom at all, which is very unsanitary and horrible. So how wonderful would it be to know every time I use this plumber that they were going to then be able to help, you know, a family, you know, that couldn't afford them. So who cares what business or service it is? How great would that be if every business in business had that mindset? You know, we stop thinking about it being, oh, they're just doing that so they'll make a sale. You know, we start thinking about, wow, how different would we all look if that was what we were thinking about when we were planning and pricing our packages, so that you can compensate for that. And you need to. You're not a hobby, you are a business. So when you plan your pricing, plan in your affiliate, plan in the cause you want to give to, plan in your operation costs, plan in how much do you want to actually keep profit for you, the individual, you know, person working for the company. How much profit do you want for the company itself? You know, the company should have a profit. That should be separate profit than what you are receiving, right? So think of, and then the taxes. I count that as its own category because it feels like that, right? And so then there's 6 different things I'm taking into account every time I price a product, right? And I am happy to share with my customers my pricing and where is that money going and why did I come up with that price, you know? And they're more excited to pay it because I share that information with them.
Yeah. It's so true on so many levels. And the part where you said people can find or allocate money to create sales in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain companies that decide to give back.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, using Tom's and Warby as an example of that, they could have allocated their money in any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't more companies doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And what if there were? Great feedback on that. Can you talk a little bit about your affiliates what you specifically do for yours and how that has helped your business?
So I think there's always, we talked about this too, there's always room to grow. There's always things I want to improve. And so if I were to completely evaluate all of my system for my affiliates, I know that there are many, many things that I'd like to do. But some good things I have learned and watched and observed over the years, because I don't want to come out the gate saying I'm doing all things perfect in the space of affiliates. And I've given a lot of talks on being an affiliate, and I knew the word affiliate far before it was mainstream, and researched and been involved, but we're always stretching and growing. One of the things you want to think about is you have a customer, often many of us, and if you don't, then this is one of the things you want to think about as far as your systems go too, is your customer journey. So think about your affiliate journey, right? So there should be a story and an inspiration. And I'm developing and working on mine now to inspire someone to want to be an affiliate, right? Because you're talking about a movement. You're talking about recruiting a cheerleader. You're talking about recruiting someone who really gets Sabrina, right? And why you show up the way you show up in the world, and what your story is. And they need to be somewhat inspired by that in order to really want to repeat the story, right? And so you want to have that inspirational join the movement story. And then you want to have the what's in it for them story, and why you have an affiliate program at all. Is it, really just to grow a free sales team and army out there for you, just doing stuff for you? Or is there some bigger value in that for you as a person and for them, right? We really want to be thinking about, why does this matter to them? And even when we're telling our stories, truthfully, we need to be telling that in a way that matters to your audience, and in ways that your audience can see themselves being you or really relate to it. So try to think about things like, maybe when you started your business, you were in the car and you were driving and you had hold of that wheel. And sometimes you go this place where you don't know, you miss your exit, or you don't know how you got there, because you just knew that you had to do what your passion or you just find that space and time, that place, because most people can relate to and connect to driving a car and getting lost in that train of thought for a moment, or that emotion where they miss their exit or something happens, right? So trying to find those kinds of details that move and connect your audience to you when you're sharing both your movement story and what's in it for them story. And then think about the easy button. If this is not easy for your affiliates, they are not going to show up and do it. So what should they be saying? Who should they be saying it to? What are 100 things affiliates can do to promote an affiliate link and promote another company, and what does that look like? And what do they need to have in order to do it? And how can we make it easy for them? What's the easy button? And there's lots of different ways you can collaborate with your affiliates and really get value. You can do a live stream in front of their community. You can create a special gift just for their community. There's all kinds of things you can do as the person running the program that's really specific to individual affiliates. But then there are other things you can just provide for them in an automated way, right? Having a good portal for them to log into so they can see how many times their link was clicked and how many sales they were made. As much transparency and honesty and trust as you can have with your affiliates, it's really important. This is another customer. This is a really important person you're nurturing. My team is my customer who supports my clients. My clients are my customers. My joint venture partners are my customers. You have to think about these affiliates as someone you're serving. That's why I call them a customer, because you're serving them, right? And so thinking about what they need and finding out what matters to them. Is it a fun contest? Is it getting on more podcasts. Maybe, 5 podcast hosts that would interview the top producing affiliate you have in your program. And you could collaborate with these 5 podcast hosts and say, hey, this is the prize I'm getting. It doesn't have to be $10,000 if you bring in the most sales for the final quarter of the year. It could be, hey, so find out what matters to your affiliates. Your affiliates are an avatar, just like your customers are an avatar, right? And so thinking about what are the specifics about that person. They're women, they're in this age bracket, they want this thing to happen, right? Maybe they have a webinar or an event of their own coming up, and if they're the top seller for the quarter for you, you make a promise to run a campaign to the big webinar they're having the first quarter of the year. You're going to make sure there are 10 butts in seats there, because that's what matters to them. And that's what matters to the avatar and to the majority of your affiliates, because they're all, dynamic business people who have master classes, networking events, and they're running or leading their own thing. Maybe that's what matters to them. But take some sort of jot form, survey, Google form, index, and feel their pulse of what matters to them. Is it tickets to something, to some big event? Is it being interviewed? Is it money? Is it whatever it is? Figure it out. And then if it's money, think outside the box and grab yourself a sponsor, and then, then maybe you have a cash prize too, so whatever it is, and then have occasional meetings for these people and do public accolades. Oh my gosh. Do you know, I have got to share with you, jump on live and say, these are the top, do your own kind of gratitude spotlight for your affiliates. These top 3 people have sent me more leads than anyone else, and I'm just so grateful. And feature them. And then make sure you tag all the other affiliates in the program, because people by nature, and I mean this with love, we are competitive. If we don't have that 5.5 of a second to compete with the fastest runner in the world to get to the gold, then what are we striving for, right? You have to give them, goals to strive for that, that just typically drive the human, some personalities, and some, I'm not going to be all inclusive for everything, but that's part of it. But I tell you what, when I'm on a summit and there's a leaderboard and all the summit speakers have an affiliate link, you better believe I have my team busting their butt out there so that I'm at the top of the leaderboard. And it actually, for me, has nothing to do with the prizes they're offering. It's I want people to say, when Jessica's on our summit, she's always the top of the leaderboard. She's always invited, and her following and her community always shows up. Because that's what I want to be true about me and the community and the relationship I have with my community, and the way I support the people who are supporting me when they put me on their platform in front of thousands of their people. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
It is a love relationship. So you need to think about all of these relationships. In my opinion, people matter most, and all of these things, all of this whole part of your business is a love relationship, from the VAs who are helping you to the customers who are supporting you, to your joint ventures, to your affiliates. All of these are a kind of a love relationship.
Yeah. Speaking of VA, I'd love to close out on your thoughts on outsourcing, a little bit about what you do, and who should be reaching out to you.
So if you're in a space where you feel like you're a side circus act and you're spinning about 16 million plates, and you're either tired of doing it or ready to try something new and know there's a better way, then outsourcing some of the tasks is probably for you. We often work with authors, coaches, speakers, online course developers, a lot of consultants and coaches, like I mentioned. But even we've worked with quite a few business owners who have multiple locations and just don't really want to pay a full-time employee to do some of the social media posting and scheduling and things. So we have an interesting variety of individuals who work with us. I would say that no matter where you are in your business, whether you're 3 months in, like I was, or whether you've been doing it for 15 years, you should have help. And that could come in a lot of forms. It could be an intern. It could be someone off Fiverr. It could be your cousin. It could be someone's college student. But when you're ready to scale, hiring real virtual assistants with skills is a really, really wonderful way to go. Whether you do it through our agency, someone else's, or you directly go out and do some research and find someone on your own. And I actually have an online course for that too. So that if you do want to go hire, train, and find your own person, I tell you where I find my people, how I interview them. There's a system for all of that, what happens in the interview, how I write the job post, how I onboard them, how we track time, how we pay them, how we track projects. Like, there's a lot of things to think about. And finding the value of always hiring 3 at a time, because even if you don't have the resources to pay them all full time, you don't have to. You can pay them per project. You assign them an amount of time, an amount of money hourly that they're going to do something, then they stop and check in with you. But you do that with all 3. And the reason you do that is because when you go through this process of seeking and finding and interviewing and posting jobs and all the things, you're dealing with human nature and human beings who have lives, and things happen and life happens. And so if you go through all of that and you find the person you think is the answer, then guess what happens when something happens for them? Then you have to start all over again. If you do that in a batch of 3, then now you still at least have 2 that you can continue to nurture and work with and give projects based on time and based on need. This is a moment of genius. If you didn't take anything from what I said away, take this away today, because it just will save you a lot of frustration and headache. So
Totally. Yeah. In agreement with all that. And I did that on accident. So yeah.
Yeah, you.
Well, this has been an absolute delight. I have taken a ton of notes. I so appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. For those that are resonating, we have a ton of people that are here live listening. They're obviously resonating with what you're saying. Where can people find you? Where do you hang out on social media?
I am on so many platforms, but you can always find me on LinkedIn. You can always find me on my website. And yeah, I think pretty simple and easy to find me both those places. And I am lots of others too. So searching my name, so far so good. My Google responses, I show up quite a few places. So there we go.
Love it. Yeah, well, JessicaLKoch.com is in the description below, wherever you're watching this at. So be sure to click that, find out more information about all the awesomeness that she does, and follow her on social media. For those of you that resonated, make sure you reach out. We'd love to connect people here in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
I would just say this is the Italian mother of 7. This is a Jessica Koch quote. Now is later sooner, so do it now, right? I got a lot of that when I was telling them to do their homework or clean their room. Mom, I'll do it later. Now is later sooner, so do it now. Don't wait. You deserve it. You're worthy. And I always end my show when I do my own with be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. Thank you for having me, Sabrina.
Yes. This is an absolute delight. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing so much awesomeness with us. That brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you for sharing. To our dedicated listeners, thank you for hanging out with us to the very end. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other with conversations just like this one.